just to hold me. Did I dream of you? Got to find that unicorn. I still want you, made me need you. Make you mine, that unicorn. Got to have you, 'cause I just can't live without you.
Oh, welcome into the big show. Tonight, we get to talk about the big money and big contracts. Here's a couple of guys that know something about big money. It's Uncle Rico, Raider Rico, and Ben with his... Wait, what do you have on tonight? That's not the Zip and Pippin?
What? No,
Oh, it's not the Zip and Pippin. What is it? The toilet shirt? Oh, Transformers.
Transformers. Okay. It's half Autobots, half Decepticons.
Oh, that's why I was confused.
I don't know what I am.
You're dark. You definitely have a dark side. We know that.
Everybody knows I like Skywarp, mostly because he's black and purple is my favorite color. But I also like Cliffjumper because, you know, he's crazy.
He's a feisty one.
And I also like Jazz because he's cool.
Well, so we do have Raider Rick on the show tonight because we're talking about paying guys a lot of money and maybe overpaying guys, and he's well associated with that with his team, Raider Rick. And Viking Moe will be joining us in a little while as well, so it'll be exciting. We have some Viking. Zadarius Smith was talking this week. Very exciting. He gave some very revealing statements. He made some revealing statements in his interview with Rich Eisen, which I'd love to examine psychologically here in a bit. It'd be fun. And then, of course, early in the week, it was my guy, Lucas, talking for the Bears. And, oh, man. If you watch any of those things and then you look at the comments from Bears fans, they love Lucas. They freaking love him. And they should, because he's awesome. So I'm excited for him. Really super excited for Lucas. Now, there's interesting things happening with Packer contracts because the Packers did this last year. We'll talk about what happened last year, and then we'll talk about what they need to have probably happen again this year based on the way they do it. But they have just reset the cornerback market by paying Jaire Alexander, apparently the premier corner in the whole NFL, buku dollars, more than anyone's ever gotten, more than, you know, the best guys. He got it, and he got a lot of it, and a lot of guaranteed money right up front in the first couple of years. I think he's guaranteed like 60-some million over the first 3 years. Isn't that correct, Rick?
No. I think it's something like that.
It's like 31 this first year or something like that.
It's mostly 30 something, and all the guarantees are this year, not including signing bonus. So signing bonus is guaranteed, obviously, which gets stretched out over the years. But
okay, all right,
that was one of the points that people were making was that they said that maybe he took less than he could have.
Whoa, less than he could, resetting the market and took less than he could have.
Okay,
explain.
I think well, we'll get in. His guaranteed money is it's like in a 39 or somewhere like whatever 30 million's in there. And the last guy to sign a big corner contract, his guarantee was 72. His total contract was not as much as Jaire's, but his guarantees was almost all covered guaranteed. It's almost like good old Kirk Cousins with the Vikes. So that's a key point to this Jaire Alexander contract. Also, he has a lot of it that's actually not a lot of it, but some of it is based on, I can't remember if it was plays played or if it was games played. I think it's plays played because of the fact that he got injured last year, and the Packers are kind of hedging their bets on that sort of thing. So he gets more money if he's playing games, if he's in the game. If he gets hurt because he is a guy who's smaller and proven to have gotten hurt in the past, then his contract is a little bit less. So when you first see the numbers, it's another, Packers have the highest paid guy at a position again. But then when you dive into the contract more, with the lower amount of guaranteed money that's into it, and also the incentives for playing time are built into it, it makes it good for Jaire if he hits if he hits everything, obviously, then, and he plays great, then he's worth the contract, or he gets the contract, right? And if he doesn't, if he gets hurt and can't play, it's not quite as expensive as it looks. It's probably like $5 million less, probably is all it is going to be. I have no idea. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something where it works together, where the Packers and Jaire worked out a deal to, make him the highest paid guy at his position again, which is the classic Packer thing. But still kind of cut some deals in there so that it's workable for the Packers. And if for some reason he should get hurt or something gets screwed up or his play goes down the tubes in a couple years, they can cut him and it won't be guaranteed dough, So that's interesting that worked out that way. So,
according to Spotrac, however you pronounce it, random website with salary contract info, they have a contract note that his per game active bonus is about $38,000 per game. So that's really not that significant.
Well, 38,000 times 17.
Yeah, over 21 million per year.
Still, it's something.
It is something, but it's not real significant.
It's not Davante Adams, but it's something.
Well, and I apologize if I was wrong, but I thought I saw a quick story. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but the first little bits of paragraph I was seeing from some reporting was that, it was like a pretty significant amount within the first 3 years, like not as much in the fourth year, but I think it was like 60 million over the first 3 years was coming his way, which is what I thought I had read. So if I was wrong, I didn't have time to double check.
30 some million is this year,
right? 31 million this year, right?
But not on the cap. That's spread out. It's like his actual base salary is as cheap as it could possibly be for this year.
It's just over $1 million for this year.
Yeah, but the signing bonus is what is the thing that gets him way up there. So
the signing bonus is $6 million per year, spread out over 5 years. So
right.
It was a 4-year extension. So you get $6 million a year for this year plus the next 4 years. So 5 years total at $6 million each year.
But unlike other teams, the Packers pay that money now. So he's getting $30 million now.
Yes.
And the $1 million for the contract now. So that's why everybody's saying, well, he gets $31 million of it right now. Well, that's why. That's why, like Zadarius Smith, he's $11 million on our salary cap this year, but they paid him that right off the start. And some teams don't have the money, so that they bake it into it where it gets paid down the road, like the Raiders. Oh, what's going on with the Raiders, Rick, and their salary problems or whatever, their money problems?
Money problem? How do they have money problem? How can they have money problem?
It's been a big story, I hear.
They're probably still paying Terrell Pryor.
Are they still paying Gruden too?
Yeah, they're going to be paying him for a while.
No. At least the Packers coach is still cheap for a little bit longer anyway.
I'm just trying to,
That's fine. I appreciate the context. I
don't know,
we've talked about
what it all means.
I know, but we've talked about this. The Packers' propensity for doing this, which is, because people were like, "Oh my," and then great, and Packer fans want to celebrate it because it's Jaire and he's been a good player and they drafted him and that's all fantastic. But I did know it was coming from his first interview. He was going to demand top dollar by the time his rookie contract came up. That's what he was going to demand, and that's what he wanted, and that's pretty much what he's gotten. Now, maybe there's a few concessions in there, but it's a lot of money for a guy that started off with a bang as a rookie, right? Everybody's super impressed with him as a rookie because probably because we usually don't get to see rookies play all the time, and he actually played, and you're like, wow, okay. And then he did some stuff, and he got away with some grabbing and holding and made him look better in his first year right away, and was like, hey, if you're going to grab and hold and they're not going to call it on you, great. We watched teams do that to the Packers over and over for years. That's what the Seahawks did in the Legion of Boom years. That's all they ever did. So that was fine. And he made some crazy tackles, and he was physical in that first year and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, he's really catching wind, and he's great, and he's this and that. And then he started getting the injuries, and then this and other things happened, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna shy away from some tackles. Maybe I'll just be blocked on this play and not really get in on the play. Maybe I'll and throughout we haven't seen a lot of turnover plays from Jaire Alexander, not big picks. And so, okay, they say he's a lockdown corner, maybe, but this is like you're paying this guy as he is one of the best in the entire league, and you project him to be that way for the next few years. I just think it's too much, but that's where I'm at.
Well, I think it's one of the problems maybe the NFL. I mean, so you're talking about how he came in, made a splash, and then it's hype, right? Like, the media starts eating it up. Everyone's eating it up, and yeah, he's good, but is he? What I think the average salary for a corner is just over $2 million. So is he 10 times better than the average corner? I mean, this isn't just the Packers necessarily. I think they got their own special problem with who they decide to pay a lot of money to. It's not just Jaire. But what makes like fans eat this up, right? I mean, like Zadarius came in, had a good year, stunk it up the next year, and it's like nobody pays attention to that. It's just parroting oh, he's the best, he's the best, he's the best. Based on what? Okay, and even if he is the best, like, is it worth paying that player who's the best on your team more than everybody else at that position combined? Is he really, 3 times better than Rasul? And maybe, Rasul 1 year, see if he can repeat it, but, come on, I don't get it. I mean, I think part of the idea of the salary cap is to try to level the playing field, but I feel like it's caused such disparity where, teams have their one key guy who's in some cases good, but how often, especially in the offensive line, which I know you're partial to, you have one offensive lineman who gets all the attention and other guys who are just average fans won't even know these guys. And they might be the best interior lineman in the league for 5 years in a row. And they're probably making $3 million a year, maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about how cheap Lucas was. There's another guy here it's Viking Moe. He's no stranger to overpaying players on his team, and so we welcome him into the discussion as well. But the other curious point about all of this is that the Packers they of course couldn't predict Rasul Douglas coming in and saving their ass and being super impactful, and then they got him cheap. They paid Jaire like 3 times as much as him, but they also drafted a first-round cornerback again last year. So do you need to pay this cornerback top dollar when you just drafted a first-round rookie who you're excited about? Bruce likes him. Everybody says telling me he's way better than I think he is. But anyway, if that's what you believe, then why the move to put so much money on Jaire? And my argument, and Jason Eckes and I were going back on this message for a while. He tried to keep telling me, well, you got to pay him and all this. He's so great. You wouldn't have paid him? What? You wouldn't have paid him? I'm like, not if I drafted a first round rookie corner that I got for 4 more years potentially, and a guy just signed for a 3-year contract, a really good contract, a veteran who's in his prime. What's my incentive? What's my pressure to sign another guy at the same position for that much money? Name me another team. Name me, and Eckes didn't answer me. Name me a team that has that much invested in the cornerback position, a first-round pick, another first-round pick that you just made the highest-paid guy in the world, and another veteran guy that you signed for a good contract. Name me a team that has that and has a super high-paid quarterback. Name me one. Any of you guys, go for it.
Washington, for the 2022 season, the Commanders have $54.6 million tied up in defensive backs and $33.4 million tied up at quarterbacks.
Maybe the Buffalo Bills.
They've got over $50 million in defensive back, $20 million in quarterback. I mean, that's just looking at this coming season. But, if we start looking down the future, then the Packers situation looks even sketchier, I think, right? I mean, part of the deal with Jaire's contract was his cap hit is pretty minimal this season, but then each of the next 4 years, it's like 21 million and goes up each year after that. So, I think part of this is renegotiate, save money for right now, but then shoot themselves in the foot for the next 4 years. I think that's, to your point, you're tying up a lot of money in them right now, but that's also 3, 4, 5 years from now when, where's Stokes going to be? Is he really as good as you say he is? And if so, how are you going to re-sign him? And then Rasul, maybe their thought is get another year or two out of Rasul and then move him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand NFL salary cap math and how this really makes sense to just constantly be punting things down the road, just hoping that the cap's going to go up crazy amounts every couple of years. I mean, I don't get it. But to your point, I don't have a team that I can say their top 3 corners are making that amount.
The thing that I want to say. Okay, go ahead, Mo. You go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just jumped in. But still, thanks for
we got plenty for you, Viking Moe.
I was almost going to change the subject, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't understand the problem. I think you re-signed a top corner. I know you guys might have a differing opinion, but that's the going rate, right? It's and a lot of the contracts we're seeing now are based on the cap continuing to go back up because it went down during the bad COVID season, right? So I think there's a lot of that. But if you asked Mike Zimmer about cornerbacks, he'd say you can never have too many. And the reason is obviously it's a passing league, number one. And number two is because they get hurt all the time. Case in point, Jaire last year. They pull hamstrings. They hurt they just get hurt all the time. They're tiny guys that run fast and are agile, and they can't hold up an NFL season very well. Now you have another game. You can never have enough corners.
They're the one position in the league that has to be the most have the most agility, but also could also be in the mix on a play up against like a 230-pound running back screening down, or sometimes like if it's Derrick Henry, 250-pound running back running straight at you. Yep. They might be the last defense on that play to tackle him, and yet also they have to cover a guy everybody from 5'8", 150 pounds, up to 6'5", 225 pounds, and they have to be able to adjust, use their size and agility and speed to make plays on the ball, cover guys, get in the mix, and all that sort of stuff. So it's hard to have one player who can do all those things. And what the Packers have right now is 3 guys who, if you mix them around a little bit and put them in the right spots, and if they start doing things which the Packers haven't done in the past, which is like lock on with one guy the entire game, if they start doing that a little bit more, and using, Justin Jefferson, put Jaire on his butt. Let's see how he does when Jaire's all over him, right? And then Jaire's sometimes gotten beat by the craftiness of your guy. What's the other guy? The white dude.
Thielen.
Oh my God, I can't remember anybody's names. What's wrong? I'm getting old. Anyways, Thielen, right?
Always been
How about if we put a little Rasul Douglas on Thielen, and then we'll see how many times Thielen looks too good. Not too good. That's all I'm saying. And the thing I really want to get to is listen to this. How much money did we pay Rasul Douglas for his 3-year contract or whatever? It's like
$21 million.
$21 million for 3 years.
3 years.
And the last year is like super high, right? So it's like $3 million this year and $7 million next year, and then the last year is like $20 million or something. Or
it's a 2-year deal.
13,
basically.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's pretty much making like $4 million a year, not really $7 million a year. Jaire is making 20-something million a year, but it's more evenly out throughout the whole thing. But here's this thing that's really interesting to me. These are the career stats. Okay. Jaire's got 48 games played, but he started 46, so he's been on the field a lot. Rasul Douglas, 72 games played, so it's a lot more games played, but he's only started 38. So you could say maybe they've been on the field about the same time. Douglas is going into 6th year. Jaire's going into his 5th year. So it's only been 1 year longer. When it comes to tackles, Douglas has 237 tackles in his career. Jaire has 188. When it comes to solo tackles, Jaire's got 155. Douglas has 188. Douglas has 0 sacks. As we all know, Mo knows, Jaire's got 1.5 sacks, and one of them's a safety on Kirk Cousins. It was a great play. First game of the year, 2020. Remember that one, Mo? That was great, right? Pass defensed, Jaire's got 43 passes defensed. Rasul Douglas got 42 pass defense. So that's basically a wash. So up to this point, we've got a wash on pass defense. We got 1 extra safety on a play that he just kind of did it on his own because he screwed up and he thought it was a run, and then he realized it wasn't, and then he just ran in there and sacked him. Got way more tackles. Interceptions, Rasul Douglas has got 10 in his career. Jaire's got 5. Touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, Rasul's got 2. Jaire's got none. Game-saving plays, just last year, Jaire's got none. His whole career, he's got really none. Douglas had 3 last year alone where he saved games single-handedly. So, based on the stats, why is Jaire Alexander make 4 times the amount of money of Rasul Douglas?
Because they don't throw his way.
Not true.
Okay, here's another stat for you, Mo.
I'm going to look it up.
In 2020, Jaire Alexander had 13 passes. He broke up 13 passes. So he had 13 passes broke up, and he allowed a quarterback rating of 67.4. That was a year he played the entire year.
That's
Okay,
good.
13 passes defensed, coverage of 67.4, quarterback rating against him in 2020. And Rasul Douglas had 5 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, 2 defensive touchdowns, and an average quarterback rating against him in 2022 or 2021 of 44.5. 44.5. He was the best cornerback in the NFL last year. Period. End of story. Best tackler, best playmaker. And people say Diggs because Diggs got all those interceptions. Well, for all those interceptions he did, he also got blown and beat by a bunch of plays too because he took so many dang chances.
Yeah.
Douglas only took chances when he knew he had safety help behind him. So the difference is smarts, toughness. There's a bunch of plays where it's like him, where guys just left him alone, and there's 2 guys. You got to watch the tape, Mo. There's tapes where I don't know what the Packers defense was doing. You'd have a guy lined up in a slot and a guy lined up on the outside, and for some reason the Packers playing like a zone, and they just have Douglas stand there by himself, and he's like, guys. And he's trying to get him to pay attention, and the ball gets snapped, and he's got to cover both of them. And most of the time, he made the play. Somehow he break through the guy and tackle the other guy. Because the quarterback's like, oh, I got 2 against 1. I'm going to throw it to the guy, and then the other guy will block. Well, no, because Rasul's too good.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
You're right, Ben, but here's
the stats.
Here's
say
the ultimate. No.
Douglas is better.
Yes.
Douglas is a better overall
key stat.
football player. He doesn't have the speed Alexander has. But he's a better
Alexander
player.
isn't even that fast. He'll get beat.
But I love it. I
Now,
still like
listen.
Jaire. I still like him. I'm just saying, Douglas is the man.
I do too. I like Jaire too. But here is we myth bust on this show. Here, gonna give you this one. Subscribe for more truth. We myth bust on this show because that was the thing I heard from Bruce too. They don't throw at him. They don't really. Well, let's just take a look at it because there's this thing called targets, right? How many times the guy was targeted? They targeted this defensive back. Now Ben just gave you some really big stats from Douglas last season that he did in 10 games, right, Ben?
5 picks.
Okay. Jaire Alexander. Let's look at this. Jaire Alexander in 2018, where he played as a rookie, a bunch of games, started 11 games, played 13 games, was targeted 91 times. 91. In 2019, where he played all 16 games and started all 16 games, he was targeted 110 times. Is that not thrown at him, Eric? That's myth bust. No, it's a myth. 2020, he played 15 games. He was targeted fewer, 80 times, but still 80 times.
That's a lot less.
Let's look at Rasul Douglas. Rasul Douglas was targeted last season in his big season 64 times. So 64 opportunities where a quarterback threw his way. He turned those 64 opportunities into 5 interceptions, into all of those passes defended that Ben mentioned, and also holding a quarterback rating at 44.5.
But that was in 10 games, though. How many targets per game?
64 in 9 starts.
Okay. And Jaire was hurt, but then the last year he had 80 in a full
in
season?
15, yeah.
In 15,
That's quite a bit less per game. Just saying.
They're still throwing at him.
Mo, stop using logic. We're talking Packers. There's no logic in Packers.
This is myth. This is myth busting. The myth is he shuts down the side of the field. They don't throw at him. Untrue. And Bruce referenced it to Richard Sherman when no one threw at Richard Sherman. That's also untrue. Some quarterbacks would go after Richard Sherman and they'd do just fine back in his heyday. Guys like Aaron Rodgers were too afraid to throw at him, and that's fine. So when we watch as Packers fans, we'd be like, oh, they'll never throw at Sherman. And that's what the announcers would say. But then you'd watch other quarterbacks who'd be like, you know what? He's not really that good. Let's throw at him and let's tear him up. And they would do it. So it's a myth that they don't ever throw at Jaire. Also, look at that production on 64 attempts, what Douglas turned that into.
Well, I think it's fair to say he snuck up on people last year, right? They're like, who's this guy? Let's go after him, right? Let's go after the weak link here in their secondary.
He was not the weak link, clearly.
Well, I understand.
I can see Mo saying teams would look at that and think he'd be the weak link. I mean, he picked him up off the street.
From the street, and let's
go
after
to the
him.
Rookie, though.
I think Justin Jefferson liked to go against Stokes, but otherwise, I think they were. I had to get a dig in. Come on, but I think it's. Yeah, I mean, they think it's something where this guy's off the street. Let's go after him. He obviously snuck up on people a little bit last year, and then now Jaire's never played in the field at the same time as Douglas, right? So I mean, it's going to be. We'll have to see how the targets are spread out there, and he's not going to sneak up on anybody either. So it might be treated differently. I think to Rick's point earlier, it was a 1-year deal. I'm not saying it's a flash in the pan, but he's not going to sneak up on anybody this year. So it just might look a little different. We'll see. Now, but I think you want to compare stats production. He had a great year. Jaire was out. Be interesting to see how they are both in the field at the same time. I think they got a steal in getting Douglas. I think that was a very smart contract. I don't think it was a bad contract for Jaire Alexander. I think if you want a top corner, it's what you're paying. And I know maybe you don't want it, but what are you going to spend your money on instead? A wide receiver? I mean, maybe, but they're getting like quarterback money now. So, I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of, everything's kind of crazy right now, but I think it was smart to sign them both, to be honest with you.
Well, sure. And I agree with that, but let's talk about one more as we're looking at stats and production. And you mentioned all the many more games Jaire had in these seasons. Let's just point this out. So last year, Douglas in just his 9 starts, had 57 tackles, 52 solo tackles, by the way, and 57 total tackles in those 9 games. Jaire Alexander, when he played a season of 16 games, now when he played in his rookie season, where I said he tackled more and he was more aggressive that season, then all of a sudden he was getting blocked more often. In 11 starts, he had 66 tackles, 61 solos. 2019, he had 58 tackles, only 50 solo tackles. 2020, when he started 15 games, 51 tackles and only 40 solo tackles. So what we've been saying about Jaire Alexander being, yes, he's good at coverage. He does not get you the picks, and he shies away from tackles now, is proven by the stats. Douglas,
it's proven by the film too.
Yeah, that's
especially
true.
When there's a run that goes to his side and he's the edge guy. He conveniently gets blocked on plays. He's Zadarius Smith set, and it's not cool.
So for a guy that I'm going to pay top dollar, I want him to be good at all things.
Sure, that's fair.
Not just a good coverage guy. I want a coverage guy that also makes impactful plays. Give me some turnovers that can change the game. And also, I can count on to tackle. And don't forget, I'm not just bagging on Jaire here because Stokes was in the play as well. When the Packers playoff game was in the balance and they had a chance to stop the 49ers before they got into field goal range, Jaire and and Stokes both had a chance to stop Deebo
Yep, they
Samuel and
both
make that
screwed up.
tackle, and they both missed. Unblocked, they both missed. So I don't know. And anyway, he's definitely not 3 times as good as Rasul Douglas, and I just think it's too much. And I also don't understand it when you have that much invested already with another first-round pick, and you have this other veteran guy that you like who did really well, basically saved your ass last year. I just wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have paid so much. I would have offered him less, and if he wanted top dollar, I'd have been like, okay. You know,
but then what? I
good.
mean, you need at least 3. I mean, everyone's running 3 wide receiver. You need at least 3.
He's still under contract unless he decides, you know, he's going to hold out. You still have his services this year, right?
Well, yeah, but then he could hold out, or then you lose him next year. I mean, what are you going to do?
Draft another guy.
I got Eric Stokes, his 3rd year in. He's supposed to be a rock star, and hopefully Douglas is still hungry and playing hard, which I think he will be. And then I'll draft some other dudes. Jamal Williams, one of our best corners in the last 30 years, was freaking undrafted. There are guys
undrafted.
There are guys you can find, right?
Well, I think you know, it's not entirely black and white, right? I mean, there's a lot of variables. One thing being clearly they're focusing on defense this year, coming in as opposed to offense. So, are they better with him on the field than without? Yeah. Do I think they overpaid for him? Yeah, but I mean that's also the way the market is going. The flip side of that is I don't think they're in a position to be throwing around big money to players right now, given how much money they've got locked up on a handful of other players. But you know, that said, it's also nice to see them actually spending some money on some key guys instead of letting them walk again like they've done so many times in the past. So I feel like it's, you know, there's pros both ways, right?
Rick, how do you are in an interesting situation because it's actually very different than what the Packers do. The Raiders did not pick up the 3rd year or the 5th year option on any of their first round picks from that season, and now this year going into it is their 4th year. They won't be under contract after a year. You're talking a starting safety, your starting running back, and I don't remember who the other guy was, but there's 3 guys. Defensive end or something, yeah. I don't know if he plays, but in your opinion, Rick, like how? And it's not like they're scrubs, but it's interesting that the Raiders have decided, okay, these guys are starting players on our team, but they're not considered top 10 players at their positions, and we're not going to do the 5th year option. We're going to weigh it out and see what happens. Where the Packers always do the 5th year option, whether it's crappy Kenny Clark, whether it's Jaire this year, whether it's
top 5,
Kevin King. Actually, they did do Kevin King's, did they? Because he got hurt. But and then next year they have a choice about Gary and Savage. Yeah, you're right. He was 2nd year, but Gary and Savage is going to be a big question for us. But as a Raider, they decided to not like the Packers would be like, well, this guy and this other thing. It's really important. Hype. Packers hype up their players to their fans, and I don't know what it's like as a Viking fan, Mo, because I don't pay attention to that crap. But the Packer brass and Packer reporters are constantly reminding Packer fans that Jaire Alexander is the best cornerback in the NFL. Davante Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. Dave Bakhtiari is the best left tackle in the NFL. Kenny Clark is one of the best. They don't say the best because they know better than that. One of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. Rashawn Gary is quickly becoming one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Thanks to Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, well, we're not getting to that yet. And then Savage has the potential to be one of the best. So, like, they're constantly drilling this into Packer fans' heads. So the hype is there. And it leaves the Packers with zero choice. Because if they let him go, the fans are in awe. How the hell could we let go of the best cornerback in the NFL? How could we let Davante Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL, walk away and get traded to the Raiders? And then the Raiders are saying, they're not I don't know if they're telling their fans or if the Vikings, like, are people saying that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL?
No, Adam Thielen is.
I'm just wondering, like, what's your opinion, Rick or Rick, whichever one, Rick or A-Rick or E-Rick? Maybe A-Rick go first. We'll talk about the Raiders, and then after that, I want to hear what's Mo's opinion as a Viking fan. Are they doing this sort of thing?
You just asked about Justin Jefferson, so answer. Let's go to Mo first, and then go to Rick. Mo, do they say that about Justin Jefferson? Is he the top wide receiver in the NFL?
I mean, that's not really the theme that I get. Honestly, I know he's done really well. He's matched and beaten a couple of Randy Moss's records. So I think there's like an in team. Is he one of the better ones the Vikings has had in a long time? They think so, but there's not that kind of talk. But I think what you're getting here might be more of a symptom, if you will, of winning 13 games 3 years in a row. I mean, it's success breeds this confidence. Well, for this good, we must have some of the best players. I think that's kind of what you're going to have to deal with, and I don't feel bad for you for that, right? You're going to have to just deal with this, Ben, that if your team is good, everyone's going to think your players are good. So you're just going to have to be okay with that because maybe they really are pretty good. I don't know. Is that crazy?
Then how did we win 13 games last year without David Bakhtiari, Jaire Alexander, Jenkins, Zadarius Smith? 4 of our highest paid guys, and 2 guys who are getting ready to get paid, and Jaire and Jenkins. I'll tell you how. Because we got a good damn team with a bunch of good freaking players and a pretty good bunch of coaches. And there's no reason to pay a guy 5 times more than what he's worth, or than what the next guy below on the maybe not what he's worth, but next guy below his stats. Like if he's 5 times better, he better make it 5 times more plays. And he doesn't. And I love Jaire. But my problem is the Raiders seem to be like, hey, our guys are not, I mean, they're good, but they haven't turned into what we want. We're not going to pay them. We're not going to give them the 5th-year option. And Rick, how does that make you feel? Do you think, is that a smart move? Or are they just being cheap? What's the deal with the Raiders?
Well,
it's a loaded question.
Okay, let's go back in time to late 1980s when Jason had those sweet glasses with the rosy colored lenses.
I had those
I
too.
think that's how you're viewing the Raiders. You're looking through Jason's rosy colored lenses here. Okay, now clearly the Raiders are not afraid to shake things up, throw a bunch of money at a guy, roll the dice, and be like, Larry Brown, he's going to be the hero. Desmond Howard, he's going to be the hero. Right? They're not afraid to take chances on these guys at the cost of, some of their good players, some of their loyal players are like, hell with this. I'm sick of this organization. I'm out of here. Right? Marcus Allen. Guys like that. So the Raiders aren't afraid to shake it up. But you look at their record over the years, and there's a lot of ups and downs, right? I mean, they'll have a good year, they'll click, it makes a noise, make a run to the playoffs, Super Bowl. Then they'll have some pretty stinky years. Green Bay is almost the extreme opposite of this, right? Like, they don't like to throw around big money at players. They like to build from within, draft their guys, develop those guys. And if you just look at their record over the years, the consistency over the years, it's hard to argue that that's not a successful strategy. But I think it allows you to become stale. And I think we've talked about this before. I mean, talking about like the offensive line situation at the start of last year and at the end of last year, right? They developed their offensive line. They got so much depth. It's so great, right? Well, really, they got some guys that are like pretty good and then some pretty mediocre guys, at least the way it looks right now. But when you don't bring anyone else in and you're only comparing your guys to your other guys, does that make some of them look better than they really are? Does it make you complacent? Does it overvalue some of your guys? Or are these guys really that good? And you look at some of these guys that have left Green Bay to go to other places, and how many of them really take off? Right?
You're right.
That's the point.
What is going to happen with Davante this year? Right? I mean, this is going to be the test. Is he really a top receiver when he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball? What's it going to do to that team chemistry when you got Waller and Renfro that want some of the Davante dividend themselves? So, as a Raider fan, I wish they'd keep some of their key guys around. But
I thought Jacobs is a good running back. Don't they like him?
Absolutely. I do like him. Of those 3, he's probably the best player. But, if you're looking at NFL formula, like how often do you keep running backs around? Their shelf life is so short. Like,
and they drafted a guy this year, right? In like the 3rd round or something or whatever.
So, he goes on the market. No one bites with a big contract. Does he come back for a reasonable amount? And that bring this back around to Alexander's deal, Packers are in a great position, right? They've got 3 arguably starters, right? I mean, any of these guys probably would be starting. I'm just giving. I don't love Stokes either, but there's a lot of teams that he'd probably still start on.
Yeah. The
So,
Vikings, for one, they stink.
Maybe Georgia Bulldogs, but that's about it. Anyway, continue on.
well, so yeah, I think this is going to be a big question this year too. Like, is he going to be the shutdown guy, or is the lack of swivel in his head going to get taken advantage of? But whatever, right? I mean, Green Bay's in a good position. They got 3 solid corners. One of them is not Kevin King, and that's almost a luxury in the league if these guys stay healthy. But when you're in the situation that they're in, you can't throw money out when you have some of that depth. I just don't think you can throw that much money at one player when you got other guys to take care of too. So,
especially the investment in one position was my biggest issue, because there are plenty of other positions you need to invest in. But some follow up to what Rick said. Rick, you are correct. So an analogy to what you're talking about, it's just like if you only looked at girls potentially at Algoma High School, I guess those girls would look pretty good. But if you start looking outside of Algoma High School, maybe they don't look quite as good. Let's be legit, right? Okay, so that's kind of what
say that.
Because that's what the Packers do. Like, they just look at their little team. Oh, these guys look so good. They're so good. They're so good. Well, let's consider other players that might be good as well and open our horizons. And maybe they're not quite as pretty. I mean, as good as you think they are, because they're the only ones you see. Number 2, Ben, what you said was very well intentioned as well. And I resonated with that, because what did we hear when we traded Clinton Dix? Oh my God, we traded a Pro Bowl safety. What in the hell are the Packers? Yep. Did you watch the film on Clinton Dix? Did you ever, as a Packers fan, did you see what that guy was as a player? But somehow he lucked into playing Matt Barkley at the right time, right before the Pro Bowl voting, and got like 3 interceptions in one game to boost his total to 5 right before the Pro Bowl voting. And all of a sudden he was a Pro Bowler. And then it was Pro Bowl safety, Pro Bowl Clinton Dix. Just because he was drafted in the first round, he was hyped up. And then because he got 1 Pro Bowl, he was hyped up. And the Packers finally figured out he stunk and traded him, and the fan base flipped out. So this is the stuff we're talking about.
It's too bad that the Pro Bowl isn't in Honolulu anymore, because it could have been Honolulu Clinton Dix.
Honolulu, ha.
That's all.
Honolulu, Honolulu.
So I'm just following up with real life examples to Rick's point and Ben's point. And Eric, we're coming to you next with Zadarius Smith. But before we do that, Zadarius spoke this week. Okay, what else you got? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to lead into that with my question. What sparked this? Another one is this.
Okay.
We have Rashawn Gary, and I love Rashawn Gary. I mean, he's really improving as a player. Okay, his first year did absolutely nothing. His second year did some stuff because he was out there once in a blue moon, right? Last year, he made some plays. He was pretty decent against the run. A lot of people were saying that he was terrible against the run. No, he was 100 times better than Zadarius Smith against the run. Trust me on that.
Well, but anything times 0 is still 0, man.
Okay, I know. Well, yeah. Anyways, he made plays. But the other day, I don't know why. It was on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and I saw a Clay Matthews clip, a bunch of Clay Matthews plays, and I was just like, holy macaroni and cheese. Clay Matthews, in his second year, won the Super Bowl with the Pack. Made plays all over the place. Was running around doing crazy stuff, and he was a late first-round pick, not a 12th overall pick. It didn't take him 3 years to sort of get it. He was out there making plays right from the start. And his relentlessness and his speed, sometimes he couldn't hold up against the run because he wasn't as big. But, of course, they played a much different defense then. And the NFL was a little different because we had 3 big monster dudes at the defensive ends and defensive tackle, which allowed Clay to kind of always use his speed and be able to get on the edge. Where nowadays the Packers really play a 4-3, not a 3-4. And Gary's really more of a stand-up defensive end than he is outside linebacker because he never drops back in coverage, ever. So he's always rushing. So I don't know why they even bother calling him a linebacker. He's not. He's a lineman. But whatever. What I'm saying is, we've waited now his 4th year coming up for him to maybe be something. Where we paid him first round money and got nothing from it. And soon we're going to have to end up paying him as the top pass rusher in his class. And here's another guy we got to pay a bunch of money to. But we didn't get the benefits of him playing on a cheap contract. So it's going to cost even and hurt that much more when we have to pay him a big-time dough money. It's not like the Vikings where they got Justin Jefferson killing everybody. We haven't had a guy kill anybody at first round. And Zadarius said he's the one who trained up Gary. He's the reason why Gary is so good. It's because Zadarius is the one. What? Okay, let's go to Zadarius, Jace.
No, hold on. We're going to take a quick, we got to remind you a quick thing, and then we're going to come back and talk to Zadarius right after this.
Tell me why that unicorn was still hoping that I dream of you.
Okay, so have you, Eric, did you get a chance to hear Zadarius Smith's interview on Rich Eisen this week?
I heard a few clips. Yeah.
I would say, once again, the guy comes off as one of the most entertaining, likable, awesome guys. He just always pulls it out. And Rich Eisen was asking him some pretty tough questions, and Zadarius was still working his way around it. Yeah, I'll never forget one of the times, because this was the first time when they started doing Zoom calls where you could actually see the whole press conference, because a lot of times they would just show like snippets of it. Mm-hmm. And there were times where they would ask Zadarius a question, and he would start answering, and he would stop and go, "Hey, let me start that over." And then he would say it again. And most of the times you never see that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So he knew everything he said in front of a camera was something he wanted to say in front of the camera. He knew exactly what he was saying at all times. And he's very good at it. And during this interview with Rich Eisen, he was very good at it. He almost sold me. I was almost like, gosh. No, but in my mind, I was like, I'm getting worried. Maybe he's going to do something with the Vikes. Maybe he's going to train him up like he said he's going to train him up. He told a story about when he went to junior college to Kentucky, and he went there because his coach from junior college went to Kentucky, and his coach wanted to come along and help train the guys. And he's like, I was there to be the leader and to train the young guys how to be the man.
He talked about being a leader over and over and over in that interview. So Eric, I'm sorry, Viking Moe. Here is the question. Will the Vikings select Zadarius Smith as a captain? Because that is what he's lobbying for right now. And if he doesn't get selected as a captain, that could be a problem for your team and your locker room.
That's the first question. I don't know. Here's the thing. I think
who are the Vikings defensive captains? Who are they? I mean,
so Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, and then I want to say it was Daniil Hunter. I mean, those are the three guys, right? I mean, and they're all veterans. They're all Pro Bowlers. They're all. I mean, it's not like. I mean, Gary wasn't anybody. I mean, and I don't know who else did you have? Jaire, who was hurt on defense. I mean. He kind of filled a void there for the Packers. He was a veteran guy, came in, made a lot of plays. He was probably a leader for their defense, like it or not. You know, we already have a lot of on the Vikings, a lot of leaders on defense and a lot of veteran guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that meshes in, how they get along. I think he's getting, from what I'm reading and seeing, he's getting along pretty well with Daniil Hunter, which is good, I think. But Daniil's he's definitely a lot more quiet. He's a quieter guy. He's definitely not Zadarius Smith in the way he handles himself, right? So there's probably still enough of a void there. Even Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith aren't like the super vocal type of guys, right? I think they command a lot of respect from their teammates, but they maybe don't have the same overall charisma, maybe that some of those guys do. At least Zadarius Smith, right? He could definitely fill a void in that way. Whether that makes him a captain or not, it'll be interesting to see. But I think there's enough veteran leadership there where it's not going to get out of control. But we'll see. I don't know.
Okay, I'm telling you right now. So he is vocal, but he's not vocal in the way of like rallying the guys to like, hey, get your asses in gear. He's vocal in like, I'm a cool guy kind of way. Hey, let's have fun. And So Zadarius is very chill and cool and happy.
It's
and
like the Brett Favre pants on the ground dance. That's what you're going to get again.
Yeah, okay. Except and the thing with but during that interview, I don't know how many times he talked about leading this team, the leadership. I'm here to be a leader, over and over and over. So that was my first question. I was like, man, if the Vikings don't, if he's not elected as one of the captains, he's gonna make his own. He's gonna keep that C necklace that he had last year, and he's wearing it again, 100% at Vikings practice and at the games.
You just make yourself a captain. You're an honorary captain.
Right.
That's right.
That's what he did last year. Well, Delvin Cook said he is crazy. He just knows how to get everybody in a good mood.
Right.
So I mean, that's great. That's great. But what happens when the Vikings lose a couple games, and he's still the same crazy fun guy, and the coaches are like, "Hey, we need to buckle down and start winning some games and not goofing off." Mm-hmm. We'll see how it works. If the Vikings win, then the Zadarius Smith, I'm a cool guy, works. The Packers won, and it worked. And then when they lost in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, Zadarius Smith said, I just wasn't ready to play. He wasn't ready to play in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. That's what he said.
Just not a good thing to say.
And it wasn't like he was like a guy who's been to the NFC Championship game or AFC Championship game a bunch of times as a starter and as a leader of a team. You're the leader of the team? You weren't ready to play in the most important game of your career as a highly paid, top-notch player on a championship team? Sorry.
It's just totally.
When he said that, he lost me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just.
Even in this Eisen interview, toward the end, he was talking. Rich asked him about playing the Packers, and is he gonna have some words for Aaron Rodgers? And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's fun. It's a game. It's just a game," and it is, right? I mean, it is a game, but it's also not. It's not high school anymore. It's not junior high. Like, this is your job. You're getting paid. Could have been making $17 million a year or whatever doing this, right? You need to show up. You need to have the, this is my livelihood sort of mentality. And I think, what we saw in this interview is exactly what happened in Green Bay, right? I mean, even last year when, was there an upside to him coming back? Yeah, there could have been, right? I mean, the guy's charismatic. He gets the crowd into it. If his teammates buy into it, that's awesome. First year, that was great. Then we saw the second year where, Preston and crew were like, yeah, whatever. He shows up for one play, gets all the attention, and, we're working our butts off the rest of the game, and he's not. That's the downside of it. But, as far as bringing a lift to the team, bringing a energy to the crowd, cool. If he shows up and can back it up with, even halfway decent play, that's a plus for the team. But there's a difference between being the, woohoo, let's have fun versus being a real leader, right? I mean, Harrison Smith seems like a real leader. The goofy, whatever, like I said, the Favre with the pants on the ground crap that he's doing with the Vikings, yeah, I mean, that was fun. That was great. But guys are dogging it. If you're not calling him out on it, that's not really being the type of leader a team brings a guy in for big contract to be the senior guy coming in and whipping him into shape. So,
right. I think there's a place for it. Is it leadership or not? Is there a place for someone who can loosen guys up, right? And that maybe are a little too tight, having that balance where, okay, now it's time to buckle down and work though, right? This is the time to kind of really dig deep versus, loosening people up. So whether that means you can still be an effective leader in that way. There's more than one way to lead, right? Yeah. And be effective. But how's that going to mesh in with the rest of the team and some of the guys that might be a little more serious or quiet reserve? Maybe we'll bring them up. Maybe we'll loosen them up. Maybe it'll be a good balance. Maybe it'll get out of control. And if they start losing, I mean, everything's off the table when you lose, right? I mean, winning fixes a lot of things. So it'll be interesting to watch, hopefully, regardless. But
if you have people that are playing hard and working their butts off, and he's coming in with the, yeah, it's fun, it's just a game thing, is that going to fly?
Probably not.
It didn't in Green Bay, right? Yeah. At least not a second year.
Well, once he stopped, because we saw what he could do. His first year in Green Bay, we talked about it. The numbers showed, his pressure rate. He was one of the tops in the league. He had his career high in so many different categories, and he was impactful. But then that was coming from a guy who was basically unknown, and he was like, I'm giving my first opportunity to be a full-time featured guy. I'm going to show what I can do, and he was motivated to do it. Now, I think he's motivated this season. I actually think his first season with the Vikings, you're going to see the best Zadarius Smith again that you could see. But I wonder how long that will be sustained. I'm sure he'll be up for the Packers games. I just don't know that he's going to. And the revealing thing to me was this. And I know this seems kind of weird, right, to tie this together, but hear me out. When he talked about his how he got into the very tail end of the interview, he talked about how he got into football in the first place because he was a basketball player. He was a 6'3" center getting his shot blocked all the time and was like, oh, okay, guess basketball is not for me. He didn't play football until his senior year of high school. And he wanted to go for football. He didn't do any of the work. He didn't do any of the spring camps. He didn't do any of the other stuff. All the other players did. He didn't do any of that. So his coach was like, hey, okay, we want to have you on the team, but you got to go to the other seniors and see if they'll let you be a part of the team. Because they've been doing all the work. They've been doing all the grinding. They've been putting in all the time. They've been doing all that. And, it's up to them whether they say you can join football and be a part of our team or not as a senior for his first year and only year of football in high school. And those guys said, yep, you can come join the team. And he did. And then he went to college, had to go JUCO because he only played 1 year of high school. And then he went to Kentucky to follow his junior college coach. But what does that say about his experience as a football player? He just got to step in his last year of high school because he was a talented athlete, right? All the other guys grinding, doing all the work, doing all the stuff you're supposed to do. He didn't have to do any of that, but he could step in and play football for this team. So as I look at Zadarius Smith, when he told that story, he was telling it as like this interesting, cool story about how all of a sudden he became a football player and now he's in the NFL. But to me, that showed me a lot about his mindset, his background. That's how it was set for him. Just think if that was your experience with football. That's how you walked into it. Nobody held you accountable. You didn't have to do any of the work. You didn't have to do jack squat. No, just come and play on our team. You're good to go. Zadarius, join in because you're a talented guy.
Probably by being charismatic and a good, funny hangout, teammate.
That's why everybody wanted me to join the intramural basketball team.
I thought it's because they wanted a 5'9" center who would get his shots blocked all the time.
5'11" and a half center who never got his shot blocked because it was a hook shot. Ask Moe. He could never block it.
It's an unblockable hook shot, but
hey, suck it.
But anyone who mentions how tall they are and adds like a half or a quarter obviously isn't as tall as they'd like to be. So
I want to be at least 6 feet tall. I've always wanted to be at least 6 feet tall, and I was never there.
Yeah,
there was a time when I was 5'11" and 3/4. That was when I was 13 years old. And then gradually I went the opposite. I don't know how that happened. 13, 5'11", 3/4, and then I went down.
Your hair
my hair made me 6 feet tall.
Yeah, your hair poofed up a little bit.
That was when I was above 6 feet tall with the hair. That's why I did that for a long time. I had the Vanilla Ice.
I always wanted
with the
to be
Richard Marks in the back and the Vanilla Ice on top.
Yeah.
It was
Ice
terrible.
I always wanted to be 6'2", but I was never close. Anyway, tell me if I'm off base. Does that make sense to anybody? Is that like give you insight?
Hear where you're coming from, and to Rick's point, maybe you won over all those seniors with his charisma and whatnot. But yeah, it's not the kind of story that I think you like to hear about people like grinding and overcoming odds and obstacles. It sounds more like silver platter. I'm super talented. Let me play. And I don't know, actually a little Favre-esque, right? And I'm going to skip training camp and just let me play. Maybe that's not a good analogy, but but I mean, it's
Aaron Rodgers.
It's not now, but right. I mean, it's a trend, but I think it's something that, it's not maybe as an endearing story as maybe he thought it was when he was telling it.
Go ahead.
I liked Zadarius when he came out with the Packers. When he was having that year, he was looking like the free agent steal that year, right? Like, man, at least one of the two hit, and so I feel kind of bad just begging on him, but because it's not that I hated him the whole time or it was like, what are they doing? This is ridiculous. Like, I was pulling for the guy. I was excited. Even last year, knowing what he had done the previous year, was still like, okay, it'd be great if he comes back and makes a splash. And it's just the frustration or like sense of betrayal sort of thing where it's like, you come in, win people over, and then dog it. And it's like, the fans, the team, whoever just owes you because you had, your one good play.
Well, he also said an interesting thing during that interview, too, where they asked him what happened with the Packers. And he said that the Packers wanted him to do something different with his contract, and he didn't feel comfortable doing that. And they were cool enough to let him go because he was like, I don't want to be here anymore if that's what you want to do. Because they probably wanted to restructure him and or cut him down or whatever it was. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm sick of talking about Zadarius. I'd like to change it to something else again, which is going back to what we first started with. But I want to take it from the perspective of the veteran player who does do his job, who is a very good player, and is not the superstar, but gets treated like dog crap so that these superstars get their top number one guy money. Adrian Amos had to keep restructuring his contract. Preston Smith keep restructuring his contract. Billy Turner, thank God he's gone now, but they kept restructuring his contract, and finally they cut him. They only saved $2 million, by the way, so it wasn't even that great. That just means goodbye. You suck. We don't want you. But we've watched the Packers let guys like, our guy Micah Hyde go, and they could have even offered him anything. Lukey Patrick, a solid, awesome guy, who they could have had. Who they could have had on the team for almost nothing, and chose to just be like, nah, we'd rather give this guy a crap ton of dough. And also, the rumors were that they were willing to give Davante whatever he wanted money-wise.
More than the Raiders gave him.
But they were waited so long. Davante's like, I'm sick of you jerking me around for this whole year. Why didn't you give me this offer a year ago when I wanted it, before the season started, and you didn't? And I said, I'm shutting it down. I'm not going to do any talks anymore. So he was pissed. And so that means, like, the thing that bothers me the most is just that. Okay? Like, in NBA, it's different. Like, the 12th guy on the bench makes a crap ton of money for doing nothing. It's ridiculous how much money those guys in the NBA make. But in the NFL, when there's 53 guys on the roster, plus all your practice squad guys and everything else under the sun, you have a lot more dudes to pay. Yet they're still paying certain individual players at positions like it's nuts. And then guys who are really almost as good as those players, and when those other guys get hurt, come in and actually maybe play better at times, they're treated like dog crap. They have to restructure their contracts. They get cut. They get not signed back, not even an offer when their free agency comes up, even though they've been great players for the team for years. And I'm bringing it all to also to Baker Mayfield, which I know Mo hates. But what did the Browns do? They told him, you're going to be our guy. Please play through your shoulder injury. And then he played through his shoulder injury, sucked. And in November, they were trying looking up on Watson back in November. But in January, they told Baker he was going to be the guy. So what the hell is that crap? All I'm saying is this. If I didn't love football, the game, as much as I do, I would probably not be a fan of football in the NFL because it's cutthroat bullcrap for guys you fall in love with. What's going to happen in a year or two when A.J. Dillon's contract comes up? He's a beefcake running back. They're not going to sign him back, fans. He's endured. He's got key to door county. Everybody that's a Packer loves A.J. Dillon. He's an awesome dude. But I'm telling you right now, unless he signs back for peanuts, he's not coming back. Guys like Aaron Jones, he's a top 10 running back in the NFL for sure, maybe even top 5. But he's just okay. You never hear the Packer fans say he's he's the best running back in the NFL or one of the best running backs in the NFL. But he is. His stats tell you that he is. They never talk about him like the way they talk about Davante Adams or David Bakhtiari or Jaire Alexander. It's like they pick and choose their guys who were first-round picks. That's the key to all of this. Jaire Alexander. Elton Jenkins coming up. Sean Gary probably. All these guys are Goody's first-round picks and Jenkins' second-round pick, but still second-round pick, who did good. They're going to get their payday because they were high picks that Goody made, and they're going to hang on to them. And it's the same thing Ted Thompson did. When you had a guy who was a great player like Micah Hyde, you had guys like, Lukey Patrick, whoever else, a bunch of other guys that we had, they were good. And they just swept them under the rug, didn't give him an offer, let him walk out the door. Tremont Williams, see you later, guy. And then they brought him back later, went at the end of his career. Double D, they forced him They were just like, we don't want you. So either you can retire as a Packer or go somewhere else. Even though he played just as his last year, he was fine. And what was the reason Double D got let go? Randall Cobb. Same thing with Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings was a great Packer. They could have given him some money. He probably would have came back for cheaper, but they didn't even offer him anything, even though he was awesome. Then he went to another team and sucked, and everybody said he sucked. Well, he didn't suck. He just didn't have a good team. He didn't have guys
Like Christian
around him. He didn't have
Ponder.
Aaron Rodgers. I mean, come on. Greg Jennings.
Christian
great.
Ponder. Christian Ponder.
So what say to you that, Jason, my brother?
What?
I know how you feel about the Lukey Patrick and the Micah Hydes and all these kind of guys.
Yeah.
Is it right that you pay Jaire Alexander and David Bakhtiari and Kenny Clark and all these guys all this money and then just don't even offer like a decent money to really good players who have been with your team for years? And the key thing is have always produced, have always gone 100%. Like, I don't have a problem with guys like Zadarius being gone because we know they didn't go 100%. MVS, he's got some issues. He can't catch. Okay, I get it. And even me, Alan Lazard. After this year, he's no longer a restricted free agent. So is he going to be backup Packer next year? I don't think he's going to be, fans, unless he somehow turns into superstar, like overnight here. What do you say? What do you guys think about this stuff? Does it bother you as much as it bothers me? Because I hate it.
It does. I'm gonna come back to me because I got a couple of finishing points about. We'll come back to this idea of what the Packers have to do and kind of what saved them last year because they overpay as some guys. They got to rely on some cheap guys to like really step up and save their butts. But Mo, you got experience, right, with your team. You've overpaid your quarterback many times, and they're not very good. And then you have other guys that you pay a lot of money to who get injured, just like the Packers guys. So what do you do? What about
Danielle
all
Hunter?
these?
Danielle Hunter hasn't played in 2 years.
What about all these other guys who are making like way less, and they got to step it up and fill the void for your team, and then they're just out of here. I know it's a business, but man, that seems pretty cold sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of times two different types of players: the guys that just command top dollar and that that every team is going to want, and they get a lot of the money, right? And of course, certain positions are going to have that, like quarterback, and now wide receiver and cornerback are kind of really the top three, premium positions, as well as probably edge. So those positions always going to get paid more, just like left tackle gets paid more than left guard, right? Is that right? Is it wrong? And these guys are both doing a lot of the same work. You play a different position that's considered premium, you get more money. If you're really good at it, you get a lot more money. If you're someone who's solid, that maybe someone thinks they're smart enough I can draft someone else to replace that person for cheaper, then yeah, I can still get them at a reasonable price, but I can get them dirt cheap if I draft a new one because I'm good enough as a GM because I have a big head. I can replace that easily. I can find a free agent at a bargain. It's money ball with some of the salary cap stuff now too, right? So because you need to keep your premium star players, right? At least that's the perception, especially at premium positions. And then so yeah, there's something has to give at some point. You're like, well, I got to replace this guy. He's done a great job for us, keeps his head down, stays out of trouble, does what we asked him to do, but he's going to cost more than a rookie or someone I can get for less, and I need to make money for this other guy that I paid a lot. So I mean, as a fan, I don't know, with the Vikings, I can't think of as many players as at least as Ben could, that I'm like, wow, I'm really upset they let that guy go. Mostly it's because, well, he obviously did not work out. He wasn't really that good anyway. Let's try to get someone new in here. So it's a little different maybe for me, at least recently. But, other things where, it's, yeah.
Well, what about Stephon Diggs? How'd you feel when they traded him away? Was it more because he wanted to be gone, and so it was like, okay, he wants to be gone, and then you got lucky with Justin Jefferson? But like, let's take the Justin Jefferson out of it. What about the Diggs part?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't obviously happy that but I think it was clear for a while he wanted to be a number one guy. He was, I won't say he was in Thielen's shadow, but he was certainly a dynamic duo, right? They were a 1-2 guy. They were like both interchangeable, but he wanted to be the clear number one guy, I think was the biggest thing. And that wasn't going to happen in Minnesota because Thielen is a good player and he was going to command, more of the targets. He goes to Buffalo and gets like something like 140 targets. I mean, that's what he wanted. So he was, I don't know. I like Diggs. I liked his attitude and just had a little bit of edge to him, but he was also a bit dramatic, like a lot of our wide receivers tend to be either. So I wasn't super heartbroken, especially given the return. I was actually, this is going back a while, but the trade I was most upset about was when they traded away Randy Moss. And I think, he's a polarizing guy. I mean, Packer fans hate him, Viking fans loved him, and he had all kinds of kind of drama following him, but he was just so fun to watch, and he was always interesting and better or worse. And I was upset when they traded him away. Was really the only trade away I can think of. And even some guys in free agency, there's some guys like, I wish they held on to him and this and that, but nothing to a great degree, which again is, maybe not a great thing, but it's something where, I see where you're coming from, and, guys that are working hard and earning it and making a career out of themselves, and then they're just kind of cast aside so they can afford these premium players at premium positions. And I think some GMs maybe get lost in what's really important. And those players, it's a team game. It's the best team sport that there is, in my opinion, and you need them all. So, but I think every GM is trying to figure out that formula of how many guys do we pay, which guys do we pay the most, which ones can we afford to go cheaper on, and you're going to have that disparity, right? I think, and the disparity a lot we talked about on this show between Alexander and Douglas is pretty egregious. I think you've made solid points. I'm just kind of surprised, not so much by what Alexander got, but how little that Douglas got. I know it was only 1 year, but that was a really cheap deal. And I'm really kind of, as a Vikings fan, kind of upset that you didn't have to pay more for him, because it seems a bit unfair.
That's the interesting part is Douglas took less money than he probably could have gotten.
Oh yeah.
But also, it's weird how just viewing, like I said, this hype is reality. Hype is reality in the NFL. When you get hyped up, you get paid like you're hyped up. But the weird thing I want to bring too is Stephon Diggs just signed a new contract after Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill and all those guys, and it was for less money than all those guys. It was actually like the 5th highest or 6th highest receiver paid. And that I was impressed with, because he didn't have to be the highest paid player at his position after this guy got the big money and this guy got the big money. He just said, hey, I would like to get some more money. I think I'm proven I'm pretty dang good. Mm-hmm. And the Bills were like, how about this? We can give you this. This is how we can make it work with our team. And Diggs said, cool. Where Tyreek Hill's like, I want to be the highest paid or else. And the Chiefs are like, see you later. Davante's like, I want to be the highest paid or else. And the Packers are like, well, let's wait till next year and then we'll talk about it. And then he's like, forget it. Get me out of here. And it's interesting to see guys like Douglas come back for pretty cheap, but he still only had 1 good year, so I get that. But for Diggs to take less money than Hill and Davante Adams, and that it's interesting because it's still a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he didn't have to be the highest paid. I don't know, Mo, I don't know how much we cover the Packers or not, but it seems like every Packer player has to be the highest paid at his position at some point in his career. Even though the very next day, like Bakhtiari was the highest paid guy, and then like the very next day, somebody else got to be the highest paid guy. But Bakhtiari was happy he was the highest paid guy for 1 day, right? Same thing with Adams. He got to be the highest paid guy with the Raiders for 3 days, and then Tyreek Hill got traded to the Miami Dolphins and became the highest paid receiver. But Davante got to say he was the highest paid wide receiver in the league for 1 day. I don't know why that's a big deal to these guys. Like, it makes no sense. And even their deals, their contracts are so structured, so stupid. Like, the whole last 2 years, your contract is not going to happen, guy. There's no guaranteed money there. It's ballooned up to who knows where. Like, come on, Davante. But he's still got to say he's the highest paid guy. Okay, back to the other stuff.
I mean, I'm not surprised about that, though. I think it's... But
why? Why does that matter?
Well, because I'll try to explain it to you. So I think, number one, these guys have, generally speaking, well, sure, big egos, Jason, but also they have short careers. I don't blame them for trying to get as much as they can, right? And their agents obviously are clamoring for that. They're probably telling, hey, you want to be this, so just say this and let's put some pressure on, right? But it's also, let's not forget, it's a union environment. Everybody wants the next guy to be the highest paid, especially if they play that position, because that means when they sign their contract, I mean, that Christian Kirk deal, what a domino effect that was, right? I mean, ridiculous, humongous deal he gets for a guy who's barely a 1,000-yard receiver, even if he even got there, right? And it's raised the whole market. It makes money for everybody else, right?
Yeah, but it kills Lukey Patrick, guys like Micah Hyde, guys like really good football players who I am a fan of and I want to watch. on my team. That's the difference between the 80s teams. The Packers sucked, but you know what? They had a bunch of guys I loved for a lot of years because they couldn't go anywhere. Like they were stuck with the Packers, you know? And then once free agency hit, then all of a sudden everybody was all over the dang place. And it's like watching the NBA. I mean, how many teams has James Harden been on and lost the freaking in the playoffs for? Because that's all he ever does is lose in the playoffs because he sucks. But how many teams has he gone to where he's the highest scoring player in the NBA, and then they get to the playoffs and his team loses because he's terrible, because he doesn't do anything other than, run into guys and throw up balls and then get foul calls on him. He doesn't play defense, can't rebound, never passes to anybody. He's terrible. He's a terrible player.
I stand by my statement that I made at Vinny's birthday party or whatever that was, that Brook Lopez is better at basketball than James Harden. I stand by that.
He is.
To this
but
moment.
But that's
now,
what I'm saying. Hold on. These high contracts, right? It's great for 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 5 guys. But for 30 guys, it's not great. Dude. They have to restructure their contract. Adrian Amos, Preston Smith,
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb had to lose. Randall Cobb had to cut $5 million off his contract for this year just so he could be on the team. While Aaron Rodgers got $150 million guaranteed on his contract, his best buddy in the whole world.
Well,
I hope he gave Randall $5 million out of his $150 million he got, or else Randall's screwed.
The median contract in the NFL is something like $800,000. Right? So, I mean, the salary cap is still there. You still have the ever-moving line. And I guess that was my question is, where's the hype coming from, right? This is a business. You're talking about how the Packers organization hypes up certain guys. Okay, in that case, I don't know why, but they're hyping up their guys maybe to make themselves look better. But where does the hype come from? Like, who decides who's going to be Billy Turner and who's going to be Lucas Patrick, right? Like,
well, the Hafeman Brothers.
Where's the hype coming where Billy Turner is?
We just tell the truth. We just tell the truth, Mo. We don't hype jack squat.
We will hype Lucas Patrick.
Lucas Patrick. You don't hype Patrick.
Lucas Patrick is the man. If you don't know that crap, then I got to tell you about it. But if you already know it, then you don't. I don't have to tell you. But like, that's not hype. That's truth. Go, Eric.
But like to Ben's point, Mo's point with this being a union thing, and more money means more money. But one thing I don't know, and I'd be curious to see, is these guys getting the big, top-notch, big-dollar contracts. How many of them have the same agent or a couple of agents? Right? Is this like these agents are hyping it to get their cut and screw everybody else? Right? Like, okay, yeah, I'll take your paltry, 10% on your $2 million deal, but we got all this interest in Patrick Mahomes. We got all this interest in DeAndre Hopkins. Like, they push the market for their guys. So if you're representing, say the top 3 receivers in the league, whoever they are that year, yeah, I mean, it just seems a little sketchy in a way that who are you actually trying to benefit? Like, who benefits from it? Agents, for sure. Yeah, those players. Does the team benefit? Maybe. How about the other 48 guys on the roster that are making minimum or close to it because everything's tied up in 5 or 6 guys? But really, I mean, who decides the hype? Who picks this stuff, right? Like, okay, Zadarius, when he had his big splashy year, all the sacks, all the hits, all the pressure, cool, I see it. Even going back to Gravedigger with his little Gravedigger dance, like, fans eat that up. That's cool. But, like, I don't know, some of the Packers offensive linemen, like, how did the Royce Newman fan club get started? Like, why do so many people love him? Is it the bad haircut? Like, what?
And because the Packers hyped him up and said, oh, he's really looking good, this rookie Royce, we're going to start him. I mean, he's better than this proven guy who's been busting his butt for us for years and filling in whenever we needed him. I blame Steno, for crying out loud. That's my guy. I blame Steno. Rick, it's a great question.
Coordinator.
It's great questions. There are burning questions though. And we have to make Mo really big because we got to ask him too. And then we got to move on real quick. Mo, one burning question for you. We make you big. Is David Bakhtiari an excellent left tackle? What is he excellent at?
getting away with holding. I mean, we've talked about
money.
I mean, come on. He's always got his hands outside the shoulders. He's always holding. And then he doesn't let go. And sometimes they call it. Most of the time they don't. And he's great at getting away with it. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He does other things well, but he does that exceptionally well. That's all I'm
He
saying.
runs really fast in a straight line.
It's good. It's helpful.
He might hold less now that he's got to use both hands to hold his big fat wallet.
Well, we wouldn't know. We haven't seen him play since he signed his big fat.
He
played a little.
He played
bit
for a
last
little
year.
bit, and then he got hurt right away, and then played 29 plays all of last season. So, that was
awesome.
the highest paid per play of any NFL player in NFL history. By the way, it was David Bakhtiari last year, so that was great. Anyway, I'm just wondering if he's so great. Now, the other burning question is Viking Moe. We will switch our attention to this really quick, and then we're going to come back to football to finish up. Your man, your new man, Pat Beverly, is just laying it out there on ESPN this last week, calling out all the BS in the NBA, saying nobody's afraid of Chris Paul. He's trash. Everyone in the league knows it. Nobody's like, how do you feel about your new Timberwolf just putting it out there, man, and putting a big target on the T-Wolf back for next year? I love it, but anyway, what do you
Chris Paul does suck.
I disagree. I think, especially considering his age, he does still a lot of things really, really well. But it's something with Pat Bev that a lot of them thought he was the straw that stirred the drink for the team because he still had a lot of the same core players, but he changed the swagger of the team, and I think they needed him. They needed a guy like that. I think he goes a little overboard sometimes. And especially when he's not in the playoffs anymore right now, he should probably maybe keep the chirping down a little bit, is my take, because he's starting to lose a little bit of credibility here, in my opinion. But I do like his energy and his fire, and even some of the antics. He's kind of fun to watch, and I think he gets his guys going. And I think as a basketball player itself, I think he's not exactly a superstar, right? But for whatever it is, he's helped the team, and they had one of their most successful seasons in a really long time. I know the standards are low, but still, it was fun to at least watch him play out basketball, and just seeing what he did in there too. So I think he could probably back off a little bit right now, though. But I'm still happy we got him. So.
I mean, I wasn't watching it all week, but when I was at work and I did want to work, I watched a bunch of Pat Beverly stuff he said in the last week, and I was like, damn, he's laying it out there. That's some pretty good stuff. And then on top of that, I was just like, I mean, a lot of the stuff he was saying, I don't think he lost credibility. I think Chris Paul, nobody is afraid of him. Why would they? The only thing they're afraid of him is if he's going to fall down and try to get foul calls on you, but he talked about that too. He called all that BS out. He called it all out. And then he also gave Giannis his props. So I'm like, I'm good with the dude. I think he's good.
So you're saying you want him as a Buck next year?
He'd be a great Buck. Oh my God.
But who would he play for?
Well, we need a new coach because Bud doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But
we know that.
But anyway,
when you got four guys that are 6'9" and taller, and
Pat Beverly's only he's super short.
I know that. I'm talking about the Bucks now.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they never use the height. They just keep playing this 1-on-5 Giannis crap or 1-on-5 stinking what's his face Holiday.
They really could have. I mean,
Holiday.
They really could have used Chris Middleton's shooting in that series.
For sure.
They needed somebody that could make an outside shot.
You know what they could have used?
They couldn't make outside shots.
They could have used Robert Pack's passing. That's what they could have used.
Well, they also could have used some sort of offense, but they didn't do that either. But I mean, when the other team's cannon threes, you got to be able to answer, and they couldn't do it.
You can't shoot threes today. You're not gonna. You have to be able to shoot threes.
I disagree. You could have just pounded them down low and set the tone, but they chose not to do that, and then they let the three get going, and then it was a disaster because they couldn't make any threes. And even my man Super Pat sucked at threes in the last game. So disappointed the way that went down.
Giannis airballing it.
Yeah. Oh well. And now I hate Grayson Allen again.
Too.
Grayson Allen, he kind of had me going in his favor a little bit during the Chicago series. Now I hate him just as much as when he was at Duke.
You becoming a real Dookie fan or what?
No, I'm not a Dookie fan.
Dookie fan.
I support Duke football because that's where Lucas Patrick played, but not Duke basketball. Now let's bring it back to football. And here's the story with the Packers. All right, we'll see what you guys think about this. Last year, the Packers had, we talked about it, all this money tied up in David Bakhtiari, who didn't play, Jaire Alexander, who didn't play, Zadarius Smith, who didn't play. They had rookies they're trying to start in the offensive line. They had other problems. They had all this sort of stuff. You know who saved the Packers' ass last year? 3 guys.
Bojo.
3 guys. Well, Bojo helped out a lot too. I wouldn't say he's an ass saver, but he was pretty good.
Hold on.
Okay.
Olivia, who is the best Packer from last season?
Aaron Jones.
No!
What? Oh, Randall Cobb?
What?
No,
What did I say?
absolutely not.
Who's the best
Oh,
Packer? Come
Don't
here.
bring these terrible opinions.
Who's the best Packer from last year?
Rasul Douglas.
There you go.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
job.
he was very good.
Okay, go away.
Okay.
See ya.
So
That's my
three
kid.
guys saved the Packers season last year, okay? Because they had all that money tied up in guys that did not play. And I understand injuries happen. Rasul Douglas, number 1.
Number 1.
Lucas Patrick, number 2.
He is number 2.
Number 3, Yash Nijman.
Number 4,
right.
Campbell.
Well, yeah, Campbell too. But I'm talking about guys that you didn't expect and guys you paid.
I didn't expect Campbell to do anything.
You
Campbell
paid
wasn't making any money.
peanuts.
Yash
Campbell wasn't making any
like
money.
a question mark if he was going to make the team or not.
Same thing with Patrick. They were talking about Patrick being cut. Do you know in Lucas Patrick's extension, when he was extended a few years ago for 2 years, he had a 2-year extension. Do you know what that 2-year extension was for? $3 million. $3 million. So last year you basically had his services for $1.5 million, and he saved your ass at center and at guard. And Yash saved you at left tackle, your premier offensive line spot, and you paid that guy nothing. And Douglas, we know, made
$670,000. Yep.
last year. And that's what the Packers relied on to still have a great season. Now they need that to happen again.
And they paid Zadarius Smith $19 million to sit on the bench, and that actually improved their defense.
Bakhtiari got paid how much? I got paid.
Yeah, Bakhtiari being out didn't improve the offense.
No,
Zadarius being out improved the defense.
Right.
Sorry, Mo.
But so what I'm saying is this is what they rely on because they go to that trend where we're going to pay Kenny Clark a whole bunch to keep him because we drafted him. He's a good player. We're going to pay this guy a whole bunch to keep. We're going to pay Aaron Rodgers the highest paid. David Bakhtiari's the highest paid. You're the highest paid. Here, you're highest paid. Why don't you be highest paid? If HaHa was still around, you could be highest paid. I don't care. But anyway, the point is they give everybody highest paid, and then they got to rely on these players who make nothing to save their ass. And that's what happened last year. Can it happen again this year? Maybe. If Sammy Watkins blows up and tears it up, that would be another example of Packers lucking out by a guy they're paying nothing to who's going to save their butt.
I have to say, it's really annoying how the Packers just kind of keep having offensive linemen that can play. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I mean,
You
these
could have
guys
had
out
Yash.
of,
He was an undrafted free agent.
that's my point.
There's
These
even
guys,
talk already now. Like, is he gonna play? Are they gonna move him back to guard? Like, is he, really up to playing tackle? And like, dude, what? Can't
He
have
did
an
it
offensive line
in games against top edge rushers.
Yes.
He performed well. Like that dude should start on your
Leave
freaking
him at-
offensive line.
Leave him at tackle when Jenkins comes back. Put him at one of the guard spots. I don't understand the constant shuffle, move guys around thing. It's not musical chairs. So
Sorry, Mo.
Viking Moe, continue on. You're annoyed by the Packers always finding players. Well, you might see some this year that can't play. Zadarius Smith, if he plays the Packers and Royce Newman is on the line, he's going to find out where he is and line up against him as many times as he can. He's going to tell the other guys to move over. No, I'm going against this guy right here because he is terrible. I'm going to eat him up and make my stats look real good for the Vikings. Go ahead.
well, he might have trouble kicking Daniil Hunter out of his spot, but I might so the Vikings have spent 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a couple of thirds on offensive linemen. They're still struggling to try to put a line together. And the Packers we got this guy off the street. We got this 6th rounder. We got this guy who was undrafted a couple of years ago. we're good. Like it's annoying. And I need you to understand how fortunate you've been that way, because with as long as Aaron Rodgers holds the ball, and he does hold the ball a long time, you guys know this, like he would be dead behind a lot of offensive lines. I mean, or at least have to, rush a throw every once in a while. And so it's, I don't know. It's like you see like, oh, Bakhtiari's down. They're going to be in trouble. They weren't in trouble. I mean, they maybe weren't, as great as they could have been. I mean, maybe a couple more holding calls, but otherwise, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh, we got this quarterback off the street. Oh, well, he can play at a Pro Bowl level. Oh, let's get this, former Golden Gopher to play linebacker for us and have a Pro Bowl year, even though we paid him nothing. Like, I mean, come on. You can't. I mean, but to your point, any team with the salary cap needs to have that sort of thing to be successful, because injuries are going to happen. You have to pay all these guys all this money. You have to get guys that are cheap that can play, that you hope emerge. So it's part of the game.
To your point, though, Mo, what about the times that we've seen Jordan Love? Right, that offensive line looks terrible. I mean,
why is that?
Rodgers, despite
I'll tell you why.
The less than awesome things, he doesn't make ridiculously bad decisions, turn over the ball. He doesn't run into guys. Right. So I think he makes the offensive line look better than it is in many instances, and that goes a long
Except
way.
for Lucas. Lucas made him look good, and Lucas saved his ass. Mo even said game-changing.
That's not the reason. Here's the reason. In the games that Jordan Love has played, okay, and this happened actually after the Kansas City game when Jordan Love played. The Kansas City defense went after him. Yeah. They blitzed a bunch of dudes. They said, we're going after him to see what happens. And in that game, the Packers' weakness is at right guard and center, or whoever was in there at the time, Myers or whatever, especially,
and stunts. They started running all those
stunts. Right. And Runyon couldn't pick it up, and Lukey was having some issues a couple times, and Royce was absolutely terrible, and Billy Turner was stinkier than dog crap. And that's why Jordan Love looked bad.
Yeah, I know, but that's still an effect of not having Rodgers at quarterback.
Yeah, but watch some games. Teams that were smart and watched the Chiefs tape still did that same thing. Except the difference was they bracketed Davante Adams with two guys and blitzed everybody at Rodgers and single covered everywhere else. And why? Because they know Rodgers is going to look at Davante first. And guess what happened in the playoffs? They scored 10 freaking points.
That's my point, though. That is my point, is that the offensive line isn't awesome. And we saw that this past year.
Right, but teams were afraid. This is what I'm saying. Because Rodgers is there, teams are afraid because they think, oh, no, if we blitz Aaron Rodgers, he's going to tear us apart. He's going to rip us a new one. Oh, no. Except when they realize that the offensive line isn't nearly as good as it is, because it's not that great. It wasn't that great. It was okay. Lukey Patrick was good. The rest of them were and some of them were stink. The opposing defense realized it, and then they went after Rodgers. And then once they got a couple hits on him, they're like, wait a minute. Rodgers only looks one place. We only got to worry about one place, and we can still take advantage of this crappy offensive line. See, it was the Chiefs game that made teams realize offensive line wasn't as good, and then they went after Rodgers. But you're right, it was the fear of Rodgers that should not have been there, because there was no fear, because he doesn't throw anybody other than Davante. We've proven that. Now this year, guess what? We don't have Davante. Rodgers is going to have to start throwing to everybody, and defenses should be scared, because it could go to anybody as long as Rodgers runs the freaking offense. And then we're going to score 1,000,000 points. Aaron Jones is going to have 30 freaking touchdowns, kill everybody. A.J. Dillon's going to run over Mo's face. It's going to be beautiful.
Hopefully he runs over Zadarius a couple times, but,
But that's why we sucked in the playoffs. Teams figured it out.
Yeah.
Just
here's
bracket
my side prediction for week one. The Packers will have Yash start. Zadarius will come in all fired up, make Yash look bad. People will still think Zadarius is awesome, and Yash will get benched for the rest of the year.
Man, that'd be the worst.
No, that's not it. Come on.
I like that.
I don't want it to happen, but that's my unfortunate prediction.
My prediction
then
is
the Packers will cut Yash, and the Vikings will pick him up the next day, and he'll be their starting left tackle for the next 10 years.
he'd definitely be the best offensive lineman on the Vikings
That's
right
true.
now.
Okay. Brian
That's
O'Neill.
true. You know it.
Pretty good, I think.
Who's good? Who's good?
Brian O'Neill.
What does he
Brian
do? Right
O'Neill?
tackle?
He's the right tackle.
Right tackle's expendable.
Yeah, he didn't give up a sack last season or something. I mean,
Is he Brian Bulaga good?
no, he's actually athletic. So.
Is he as good as Quinn Miners?
Well, he's different. I'll say he's
Okay,
different.
all right.
He's not like that kind of dude, but
Oh my God, Quinn Miners! I wish he was a Packer.
All right,
bad.
enough
All right.
Quinn Miners. He's
All
not
right,
a
last
Packer.
thing. All right, I know, I can dream. Sometimes I go to sleep and I wake up and I think he's still a Packer, and I'm like, oh no, it was a dream. Anyway, all right. So lastly on this, Mo, we covered the Pat Beverly stuff. We covered the Zadarius. I actually think this, and you should be excited about this.
okay.
I think based on Zadarius's track record, I think based on his information he put out on Rich Eisen, I think he is going to have 16 sacks this year.
Oh wow.
Now, 5 of them will come against the Packers in 2 games. So that's only, 11 for the other 16 games. So, you can figure out the impact there. The rest of
15
the
games,
season.
but that's okay.
Oh, what? What? Did
It's
I say that
18
wrong?
weeks, but they don't play all 18, Jay.
It's just,
Okay.
yeah, it's just math. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Never mind. 15 games.
Wonder Vic.
Wonder Rick.
That's right. Anyway, you get the point. Okay, so 15 games. So I have 11 sacks the other 15 games. But I think you're going to get Zadarius trying hard most of the time. Well, more of the time than he did the last few seasons. He's going to be a liability in the run, but he's going to rush the hell out of the passer, and he's going to get some sacks and get people excited to make some splash plays. The fans are going to love him. And, I think all of that's going to happen. He'll be a Pro Bowler. He'll be a Viking defensive Pro Bowler, and then he'll demand to be a team captain if they didn't vote him as captain. He was
on one of the local sports things talking about how he and Daniil they're working on some things. Oh, if he is captain, he could be captain and Daniil. That could be their handle. But they're working on some things that they can do, change it up, and the reporter had asked, like, are you gonna share some info about the Packers, like some insight that's gonna help? He's like, yeah.
He doesn't know
I'll
anything.
wait till it's a little closer to game time before I spill all that. Like, what's he gonna know that like a coach wouldn't know? But
And
I'm
he's
pretty
going to
sure
mentor.
Mike Pettin and Mike Smith would know more than him.
He's
Yeah.
going to mentor your young edge players and turn them, and he's going to take all the credit if they do well. Just like Rashawn Gary. We got that guy Rashawn Gary. I mean, he's doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically what he said.
He also said he said he wants to hit Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. He can't catch
you
Aaron
don't want
Jones.
and he don't want to hit
And
AJ.
AJ Dillon would run right over. I know he's never made a play in a running back his entire career. That's what he said to Rich Eisen because they asked him what he's going to do, and he mentioned those 2 guys and Aaron Rodgers. Those were the 3 mentions he mentioned. Yeah, we can't hit him in practice. But I also remember Zadarius talking about covering Aaron Jones in practice. He's like, "You kidding me? The coaches want me to cover Aaron Jones in practice? You can't do that. I can't do that."
That's a pretty defensive thing to say. They all said, like when Adrian Peterson came back with the Saints, a lot of the guys on defense, like, we finally get to hit him because we never could in practice, So I'm sure that's just a defensive thing to say. But whether he really plans on playing run defense or not, we'll see. But I mean, I think if he got 16 sacks, I'd be pretty happy with that, regardless of kind of what else comes with it. Because if Hunter can stay healthy, he can get close to that number 2. And that's a pretty good combination right there. And remember, this team was second in the league in sacks. So, and now that was with only Daniil Hunter with 6 games, 5.5 games. So, and then, if you throw in another 16 sack guy, it's pretty good. You don't need cornerbacks. Who needs cornerbacks if you get the quarterback that fast,
That's
right?
good.
Hey,
That's
you
good
got
for the
Chad
Vikings.
Sullivan. He's good.
Yeah, I was happy about that signing. Some nice quality signing. You can play some in the slot, which is an important spot these days. And, you still got Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler. I think he actually had some good moments. He was in Zimmer's doghouse for whatever reason, but he's actually a pretty good player, I think. And then they
Second round pick,
drafted
who's that guy?
Booth, who's projected first, but he's really early second. So I think they got some decent options there now. They'll probably just enough. I like their safety situation too.
Is Scene going to start next to what's his face?
To Harrison Smith? Yeah, I mean, his nickname I think is Crime Scene. I think that's what they're calling him now. But yeah, so it's it's him or oh shoot, why can't I think of his name now?
Doesn't matter. He's going to play.
He's not that good. He's not.
Well, he's the rookie from last year. He played well when he got a chance to play too. So he made some big plays. So they have some decent options there. So I think they'll actually be okay. So if they can get after the passer, might be pretty exciting season on defense. We'll see.
So are someone gonna help me bankroll these Captain and Daniil shirts and see if you can get that hype going? You can be Pro Bowlers, both of them, all pros.
All you got to do is put it out there, Rick. It'll
Start
take
the hype
off.
train now. Come on, Mo. You can sell that at Walgreens and Walmart. It'd be all over the place.
Love,
Just like I always dreamed.
love will keep us together.
Oh, and then Jordan Love could come to the Vikings after the Packers cut him.
Yeah. You don't know what he could be.
You guys don't even
No
know
one
that song.
knows
Yeah,
it.
you're all too young.
No,
We know what Jordan
We
Love's
know it.
going to be. I mean, come on.
No, we don't. All right, Mo. Before last time we saw you, you were very sick and very sad. How did you feel the Vikings did? With the results of the draft, it actually turned out pretty good with the the second round picks and
They
stuff.
stole
right?
a couple of draft picks from the Packers. That
Right?
was a
How do
dumb
you-
trade
What
up.
do you think? Yeah, and then that trade they got
Vikings
with the
Packers gave him 2 second round picks for 1 second round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
I didn't like the trade with the Lions. I get like they were not trading for a quarterback. You're not going to get it like when you compare it to other Jimmy Johnson's draft chart. I didn't like it, like at all. I almost wanted them to take a player there instead. But I did like when you look at just overall the players that they got. I was pretty happy that they got Booth in the second round. I liked him at the end of the first round with a couple other corners. I was surprised they went safety, but I know they were really high on that guy. They actually had him ranked, more as a middle first round pick. So I think they were pretty happy to get him too. And so we'll see. And I think they went heavy on more positions of need. They didn't really go after receiver, but I think they really like some of the guys that they got already. So overall, I was happy. I didn't like the trade, but I didn't lose any sleep on it either. I mean, I lost sleep when the year they drafted Christian Ponder, but I didn't. I really did. I hated that pick, and then turns out I was unfortunately right about hating that pick. But it wasn't like that. I was just like, man, you just wish you could have gotten a little more out of that trade, especially trading within a division team. So, but overall, I think they made up for it. They used a lot of that currency to get the players they wanted the rest of the draft. So I was happy with it. But time will tell.
The only person that was happy with Christian Ponder was Greg Jennings when he first went there because he was, ready to prove that he could be great without a good quarterback, and he couldn't. So, but Eric, those young corners and safety that you drafted early on, now they can be led by Zadarius Smith, so you have that to look forward to. So that'll be good for your team and your defense. Raider Rick, any parting shots for the Raiders? How are we feeling from the draft hangover from your Raiders?
Given that their draft is tied up in number 17. Actually, with the little bit of draft capital they had to work with, I think they did okay. I mean, it's late round guys, hit or miss, whatever, but
Is Mike Mayock still the
remain
GM?
optimistic that at least there'll be a good honeymoon period with Davante coming in. Offense will still be clicking, but I don't see it being something in that division that's going to put them over the top. I just feel like it's a bad time to be trying to go all in the AFC West. So spending a lot of money, it's going to be tying up a lot of money for a long time. But, we'll see. They've gotten lucky in the past. They got hot when they need to get hot, get into the playoffs, and then fall on their face. So maybe this year it'll be different. Maybe they'll have enough offensive weapons. Carr's not going to be able to have tunnel vision on Renfro and Adams at the same time. So maybe one of them will be open.
So last quick follow-up on that is, do you feel like because how terrible the Raiders usually screw up the early picks, should this be a new draft strategy moving forward? Trade away your early picks for a player you have to pay a lot of money to who probably will be pretty good, but we don't know. Maybe. And then just have fewer picks later.
It's a safer safer approach and one they'll probably be able to afford to do every 4 or 5 years. So,
Okay. All right. Fair.
it worked well for the Rams. Unfortunately, I think the Raiders and their personnel moves historically are not awesome. So, but I feel better going into this year than I have some years in the past. So, we'll see. I mean, defensively, it'll be question mark. They lost a lot of guys, which was kind of a piecemeal defense already. So we'll see. They just need to score like 52 points every week, and it doesn't matter.
Well, I hope you have a fun year watching them this year, Rick, for your sake.
It'll be fun. I wouldn't bet a lot on them bringing home the trophy at the end, but it'll be fun. It'll be entertaining.
That's good. I will say as a parting shot that Lucas Patrick, who plays 100% damn near all the time, said he really loves Luke Getsy. He's the kind of guy you want to run through a brick wall for. So I'm even looking for Lucas Patrick to play even harder for the Bears, which I didn't even think was possible. But I think he's going to be awesome. I think he's going to be – and the other part with him is the team invested in him. Not that much money, but at least they've looking to him to be a leader for their offensive line group. They brought in all these new guys. He's a key piece. He's going to lead them, show them the way, be nasty, do his thing, and finally, for the first time in his career, not have to look over his shoulder. I think he's gonna be Pro Bowl level Lucas Patrick center this year, and Bruce can suck it by telling me freaking Myers is gonna be better than him and all that crap.
Wow.
So look for that. Look for that.
I just want to say
he can go curl his old mullet if he wants or whatever. I used to straighten my. Do we ever use a crimper on that, Ben? I think we did crimp it once in a while.
don't put me in with your weirdness.
We're gonna do some mullet. Dark days of mullets past.
Anyways,
one of these weeks.
Well, I found a bunch of good pictures from a bunch of different things, but
Mo, you had a mullet.
No.
Mo.
No.
I was gonna say
Ben, go ahead.
the 2 picks that we traded to you Vikings to get our guy Christian Watson.
Yeah.
In his first rookie practice, he dropped 3 balls already.
Yeah. Yep.
So awesome for us.
I thought that was a questionable pick, my opinion. But.
So we got MVS 2.0, except instead of drafting him in the 5th round, like we got MVS in the 5th round, we traded 2 second-rounders to get MVS 2.0.
Yep, that's right.
Little concerned. He seems like an awesome guy. Don't get me wrong.
Super
he's
nice.
like an awesome guy.
Yeah. It's like Zadarius awesome, right?
No, not like that. Like really actually like a good, hard-working guy. But he doesn't
okay.
have talent,
Gotcha.
apparently, to catch passes.
Got it.
Or
That's
run
a
routes.
problem. That's kind of a problem.
But he is fast, and he's good with the ball in his hand. It's just he's got to catch the ball.
Or just jet sweep him.
Yeah, just
And-
Moving to running back, yeah.
At least they have an MVS sort of replacement, since it had been discussed a number of times, even on this show, that speed of MVS was kind of critical to opening things up underneath. So even if it was a higher pick, maybe then would be ideal. At least they have someone to take on that role instead of having to go for some crusty old guy. But I agree. Hopefully he can start to take a little bit better care of the ball, hold on to it, catch it, bring it in, not fumble it if he does catch it.
And the other key thing is Juwan Winfrey put out a tweet the other day saying he's ready to be the number 1 guy, and that Packers coaches have been telling him that he has a lot of the same traits as Davante.
Hype,
And he's going to be the next number 1 guy, and he's an undrafted guy, so I don't know what he's thinking. I actually think Romeo Doubs has a chance to. He looks a lot like Davante, except he catches better, so that's good.
I think Eckes probably started that stuff with Winfrey, don't you?
Could be.
Eckes was all over Winfrey. Like,
Well, Winfrey is turning into he's his own Tyrone Williams right now. He's creating his own hype. He's trying to create his own hype.
there you go. That
Nobody
could
else
work
is talking
too.
about Juwan Winfrey, but Juwan Winfrey's talking about Juwan Winfrey.
Maybe there's not one person who starts the hype. Maybe it's, many angles, but you repeat it enough.
Tyrone
do.
Williams.
And then
Tyrone Williams.
Then Eckes will put it in Packer Report, and then it'll be law. It'll be like, it'll be reality for all.
Then pretty
Juwan
soon Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will be saying it, and then get out that checkbook.
And no one's going to listen because it's Monday Night Football on ESPN. Nobody watches that crap. They only watch the Peyton Manning and the Eli Manning cast.
Viking Moe, I hope you're
so
ready
dumb.
to be more afraid of the Packers' defense than their offense for the first time in
Yes,
forever.
more afraid.
Since Reggie White days.
Listen to this lineup, Mo. Sean Gary, Kenny Clark, Davante Wyatt, Preston Smith, Campbell, Quay Walker, Rasul Douglas, Eric Stokes, Jaire Alexander, Adrian Amos, and the guy who never knows where the ball is when it's in the air, Savage. The weakest link on our team. Savage.
But there's two guys that don't know where it is when it's in the air.
I know Stokes doesn't either, but that's okay.
I don't know. I stand by that. I don't think Justin Jefferson's afraid of Stokes at all. So
That's why you put
see
Jaire
how
on
that
him.
goes. You already mentioned Savage. I thought Quay, the linebacker. I thought that was. I don't know. I thought there were some better linebackers on the board, to be honest with you.
It's
but
potential, bro. 6'3", 240 pounds, and runs like lightning.
yeah,
Sounds
Yep.
like me,
Well, I mean, we'll see.
except for the running like lightning part.
Yeah, it just seemed more developmental to me. I don't know if he's going to be ready to start.
That's
But
what the
we'll see.
Packers like. They
Yeah,
like
but he's not going to have to think. They're going to just be like, you run to the running back. That's going to be his job.
It's
Cover
going to
the
be Bill
running
Cowher.
back.
You're going to borrow Bill Cowher as a
Yes.
consultant and say what, Ben?
Yep. Just run. Well, instead of going to the quarterback, he says, just rush the running back. He's going to go to the running back, not the quarterback. His job is going to be to cover the running back. That's it. Wherever the running back goes, you go. If he has the ball, tackle him. If he doesn't, wait till he gets it, tackle him. That's going to be his job. Campbell is going to be the guy who's got the smarts and knows what's going on and gets everybody lined up. Quay Walker, they're going to use his size and agility and speed and athleticism, and he's going to do things that no other Packer linebacker has ever done. That's called tackling the guy behind the line of scrimmage. I don't remember if I've ever seen that before on a Packer linebacker. We've had A.J. Hawk and all these other guys who couldn't frickin' do nothing. This guy, they're just going to be like, run in there and tackle him.
There was a game that Clay played in the middle. He might have had a couple.
I know. Clay was awesome when he was middle linebacker. I don't know why they moved him back to outside linebacker. He was amazing at middle linebacker. But all I'm saying is this, Mo. And then Davante Wyatt, dude, he's going to be Aaron Donald, baby. He's going to be another Aaron Donald out there. And here's the best part. He's already 24. So he's under his rookie contract, was drafted in the first round. By the time his contract is over, after the fifth-year option, he's 29. He's done. We don't have to pay him the big money. We're going to get a top-notch player for cheap. And he's going to play right away. Not like Rashawn Gary, where it takes him 3 years to finally do something. This guy's going to come in and dominate right now. And he's going to make Kenny Clark look like as slow as my grandma. And he's going to look like a speed demon. It's going to be like me or Rick out there. Rick, super slow. Me, super fast. That's the difference.
I'd say quick. You're quick, not super
Yeah, that's
fast.
true. I'm not
Super
fast.
fast.
More quick than fast.
Hey, I am quick. I don't care what you guys say.
Shifty.
I was doing some moves the other day. I think I want to get in an over 40 basketball league.
No, you don't.
Yeah. I'm fat. I want to lose some weight, but I don't want to exercise. I want to just do
wait
something fun.
till
I wanna play
you're
basketball.
Hey, wait till you're 50 and then get in the over 50 one.
Might be good
No.
advice.
Let's just do it now.
All right, fair enough.
Hey, watch it, Rick. I
All
just
right,
saw you
well,
last week. That's not nice to say. I thought
I-
we're pals.
You saw Rick again? Oh,
He'll
okay.
be over it.
He came over to help us move Grant out of the dorms.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Man,
He was
Rick
directing
is-
traffic because it was an insane. Everybody was parking everywhere. They're double parked. They're parking in the freaking parking lot. They're parking in the loading zones.
Ben was afraid he was going to get towed. I'm like,
I was.
no, just park here. It's fine. They're not going to.
Yes. So we just stood there
Traffic, they're not going to
for
care.
like a half an hour outside the car.
He's got clout around that.
He does. He had zero
campus, so-
fear. I was like, I
Yeah,
kept looking over my shoulder for like a cop or something. Rick's like, meh.
The facilities management dude comes out. He's like, oh, he's going to tell me to move. He's going to tell me to move. I'm like, that guy's not going to care you're parked here. He's like, try going to lunch.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys, all your time. Appreciate all you out there in the world who watch this at any point for 1 minute or 153 minutes. I'm sorry, 1 hour and 53 minutes. My math is off
Whoa.
again. Sorry, everybody.
We
Although
could go to
we could do-
153 if you want.
We
Let's do
could.
it.
We could. And
We've done that before.
oh yeah, we could. Usually.
Hey,
only
real
draft
quick.
minutes, but real quick.
Marvel Champions just announced finally the Mutant Genesis is coming at the end of the summer. So get ready for the X-Men. Finally, after waiting for 3.5 years, we're finally getting X-Men. I know nobody cares but me, but still, awesomeness.
It's good stuff. Thanks, bro.
Hey,
All right.
aren't any of you guys X-Men fans? None of you?
I like S, man. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I like X-Men.
All right, well, then suck it. It's good.
Yes, I haven't played many games. I've been working on too many other things. But we'll get more news.
I got a new game
on
called
that later.
Meeple Land. I played with Mom and Dad last weekend.
You said Meatball Land?
Meeple Land. See,
Oh,
whenever
okay.
you play nerd games, there's little wooden figures. They're called meeples. And this is
Okay.
a game called Meeple Land where you build your own amusement park. And Dad almost won, and he had no idea what he was doing. So that shows you how it doesn't take a lot of skill, apparently.
Sounds amazing.
You got smart stuff. I had a meatball sub
It's fun.
last
It's
week.
a fun game.
That's
It's
all I
like
had.
Cheaty Mages.
Did you ever play
Cheaty
Cheaty Mages?
No, no.
I'm going to.
You
going
wanted to, but then we didn't. We
Yeah,
did
you guys are
something
jerks.
else.
When we get
That was-
together in the
You guys
Steam-
killed me like 4 times in a row in frickin' Citadels, though. I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun. I think I won
I
everything.
got so pissed.
I'm very
I
nice.
had a good time. I
Yeah,
enjoyed that.
I gotta stop taking the merchant. That was dumb.
Yeah.
All right.
I
We
agree.
can chat again off the show stream here. I'm
No,
sure you're
we're
all
talking
enjoying
about
this.
games. They're way better than the
Oh,
Packers.
okay.
Ooh.
All right. Hey, the Packers are going to be good, and they're just going to play differently and win games by playing good defense this year, not good offense. Royce will be a problem, and Zadarius Pro Bowler. So you got that to look forward to. Rick,
Super.
you got Davante Adams, 140 targets. Look forward to that. Okay, so that's what I know. That's what we know. LP also is the man. If you didn't watch his Bears interview this week, you should because he's super cool. The Bears
Was it a
fans
new
love
one?
him.
Not that you're promoting him. It's
I'm
just
not
the
promoting him. The Bears are promoting him.
Was it
Finally,
a new interview?
yeah, this week. That was
So
what
it
I
was the
said.
second. It's not the one we got signed. Is it like
No,
an
no,
OTA
this is
one?
like
No,
he's out
this
in
is,
front.
this is new. Like he's taking on like sounds like he's the veteran guy that's taking charge of the offensive line.
He's the guy.
It's like, where was this in Green Bay? Like, did Packer fans ever have the opportunity?
Packer fans
to
have
hear
no
him
idea who
talk?
Lucas Patrick was.
It wasn't
Didn't even
until
know.
last year where they finally started putting him in front of the podium
Yep.
for press, and the press loved him. They were like, "This guy is awesome." Are
He
you
was
kidding me?
awesome.
Give me more. He did like the pay stub or whatever, like bank it. You know, you build up the bank account with these guys, and he did some other references, and he talked about. Dude's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Packers
And the
are
Bears fans freaking love him, and he's cheap as hell. Packers are dumb. He's not going to be able to cover your ass when you got inside offensive lineman problems this year, Green Bay. So figure it out.
Royce.
Viking
You know,
Moe, you're on.
if this show wasn't called Pooh Packers Show, I would think it was not a Packers show. The way you've been bagging on Jaire Alexander all game.
I didn't bet.
You're saying Zadarius Smith's going to be a Pro Bowler, and you're loving on the Bears and Lukey Patrick. I just don't get you, man.
It is truth. It's all truth, and I'm loyal to my guy. I said favorite Packer of all time. Did you not? I did not stutter when I said it last year. He became my favorite Packer of all time. Do you think I'm going to cast that guy away just because the Packers did? No. And when Bruce has to wear a freaking Lucas Patrick Bears jersey and come back on our show when he kicks Kenny Clark's ass, then I'm going to love it because that means Lucas was awesome. And I'm going to go get him to sign this jersey someday. And I'm going to put it in a vacuum sealed case so it lasts well beyond my time. And I can pass it down to generations to know who this man was and what he represented. Former Duke football player. I don't hold that against him. He's a freaking Packer, inside and out. LP, you're the man. Mo, you're great. Raider Rick, good luck with Davante's big contract. Ben,
Yeah.
you know who you are. Peace out in the world. Hafeman Bros, come back. Award-winning journalist right there. We'll catch you next week for more Hafeman Bros. Pooh Show.
Tell me why I got you to come. Just to